The 20% discount still continues on Boosty. Have time to purchase a subscription where exclusive Naruto Lemon videos will be released at a bargain price. Chapter 13 to 16. Enjoy your viewing. Naruto woke up with a persistent feeling of desert in her throat and tongue. This is probably how Suna's nature decided to avenge her own. It was as if hot sand had been poured into my eyes, and they didn't want to open. The chakra depletion passed, Kurama quickly replenished his reserves, but his body still ached and required rest. Only who will allow him? Memory brought up a list of urgent matters that were yet to come in connection with the attack of Orochimaru and the death of Sarutobi. The girl moaned muffledly, burying her nose in the carpet. Once again she thanked her foresight for deciding to put it in her office, even though it was contrary to tradition. But we need to get up, bring ourselves to our senses and again look like the head of the Uchiha clan, who has no right to weakness, and not like a rookie genin. By the way, I wonder if this battle will be counted towards her or will she have to take it again, based on the number of missions? A face swollen from tears with silky eyes looked out from the mirror. And where is the vaunted regeneration? Kurama refused to treat out of spite. The fire chakra blazed joyfully in my stomach. The fox laughed, and Naruto sent him the image of a threatening fist. The slits of the eyes immediately became wider, the cheeks returned to normal, and the shoulder that had become stiff on the carpet during the night no longer bothered me. My insides were filled with mockery and a little tender care. Kurama made it clear that he was very, very frightened by the threats of his Jinchuriki, and humbly asks not to be angry. Red ulcer. Naruto laughed weakly. Biju knows how to cheer up, needless to say. The smell of something burning came from below. Naruto remembered that yesterday she left the boys at the farm, and if Shikamaru simply doesn't cook out of laziness, then Sasuke is unlikely to get by with 2 miraculously surviving tomatoes. And there was no one else in the house. So the kid decided to cook breakfast. This thought woke me up better than any alarm clock. Naruto rushed down the stairs, showering the walls with droplets from her wet hair. She quickly sent chakra through her body to come to her senses. And she burst into the kitchen. Everything turned out to be not as scary as she imagined. Sasuke limited his destruction to a frying pan, to which the slightly dozing Nara looked skeptically. Good morning, Naruto-san. He yawned protractedly. Good, the girl said confusedly. Smoke was pouring out from the frying pan. Sasuke, armed with a spatula, was guarding something, or someone. My stupid little brother, what is this? Naruto asked almost with sacred horror when the youngest Uchiha transferred his work of art to a plate. A pile of something black and red, flavored with pieces of white and yellow streaks. Oh, good morning, sister. Sasuke smiled joyfully. This is scrambled eggs with tomatoes, he said proudly. Shursui, what did you say about terrorism and your brother in Akatsuki? It seems like it's time. I won't eat this, Nara said categorically, folding his arms over his chest. I'm also not hungry. Sasuke looked upset. Or he played masterfully. And who did you learn from? But thanks anyway. And I have tomato hot sauce, the Uchiha said decisively. Naruto watched as Sasuke, generously pouring sauce on him, ate his scrambled eggs, actively working with his chopsticks. And everything inside was shrinking and turning inside out. Extreme cooking no jutsu. Shikamaru, after breakfast, Sasuke and I will walk you home. Genius. Nara nodded silently. He understood everything. And Naruto was grateful to him for his understanding. The clan members cannot remain alone now. Not with Konoha's border destroyed and the barrier damaged. Surely the Hyuga have already activated, shrunk and settled in the main mansion, guarding the head and Heim. I wonder how Niji is doing? Naruto would gladly leave Sasuke at home, but I saw in her brother's eyes that it was easier to kill him right away than to refuse his care. Sasuke will not leave his sister alone, not when he saw her broken and empty the day before. He is afraid of losing not an anchor his entire familiar world, which he built around Naruto. And the girl squeezed his hand under the table and smiled at the corners of her lips. It's gone, burned out. She finally became a full-fledged shinobi. Although it will be a long time before she learns to kill without regret, it will no longer become savage for her. Not when she realized with what sound, with what sensation the sword interrupted life. Konoha resembled a beehive, no, not disturbed, just disturbed. Civilians had already returned to their homes, were still scurrying about the streets, shops and stores were open. Shinobi were running across the roofs and wires about their business, builders were carrying materials to the border, hammers were knocking, and the screams of children were heard. Despite everything, life went on. She will freeze for a while when the third Hokage is buried. Shikaku Nara thanked him for his help with guarding the heir and invited him to have tea on the veranda. Sasuke left with Shikamaru. For some reason Naruto had no doubt that both would try to eavesdrop. Shikamaru, despite his laziness, was still a child, a teenager and a very curious shinobi. He just hid it better. Suna will not make any claims about killing the Jinchuriki. Nara Sr. took a sip. Naruto held the cup in her hands, warmed her fingers and watched the fragrant steam rise above the dark surface. It smelled of jasmine and chamomile, simple, artless, but so wonderful. People might think that they were in league with Orochimaru, since he was hiding under the guise of their ruler. Naruto noted and also sipped her tea. Everything has its price. And its cost. Suna will not make any claims in exchange for the fact that Konoha will remain silent. Both villages will hush up history on their part, relations will remain the same. Nobody needs clashes now, either local nor global. Konoha is weakened by the need to choose a new leader. Suna has lost the main thing and most likely, the Kazekage. Unlike List, they have no worthy candidates for the role of ruler. And who else but the Hokage advisor should know about this? Wood or oil? Tree. Shikaku nodded, pleased with her understanding. Definitely a tree. May the will of fire help burn out the rotten roots. This is truly the ultimate dream. Life was spinning at an unprecedented speed. There was too much to do in a short period of time. The next day it started to rain. The superstitious said that the sky itself was mourning the third Hokage. Naruto stood in the back rows as they said goodbye to Sarutobi in front genin of the academy. And I didn't feel anything, either anger nor satisfaction. The old man, like any ruler, weaved intrigues and played by his own rules. However, he helped her when it did not contradict his plans. Or there were no other options. The girls Sasuke's classmates sobbed and cried without hesitation. Sarutobi taught many people lessons and introduced them to the history of Konoha. Yes, and this was simply driven into the subcortex along with the will of fire love for one's rulers, no matter what they were. If he is Hokage, then he is definitely a worthy shinobi. Something like this. The Jonins looked gloomy. Sasuke echoed their expression. He didn't cry, he just clenched his fists, and his nodules moved when he clenched his jaws. Perhaps the little brother was relieved, he did not speak. The heads of the clans maintained mournful equanimity. The time of stability is over. Who knows what the new Hokage will come up with? Perhaps only the genins were sincerely worried and thought about the deceased at that moment. Naruto raised her face to the sky, letting the drops of water wet her skin. Let at least the rain bring tears to her eyes, since she cannot squeeze out even a small one. The funeral ended. The pedestal with the photograph of the third was almost hidden under the white flowers brought as a sign of respect. Soon, very soon, this photograph will be transferred to the Hokage's office and hung next to the images of the previous rulers of the village. Naruto noticed the signs that Shirani was making to her. Oh yes, they wanted to have a get-together after the end of the tournament. It seems the celebration will turn into remembrance. Sasuke, can you get there alone? Of course, sister. He even pouted a little that they didn't trust him. Naruto ruffled her hair and walked towards her group. Sarutobi Asuma looked bad. Unusually pale under his persistent tan, his skin tightened and sharpened his cheekbones, and his fingers trembled when he brought the cigarette to his mouth. The second one was quietly held by Kurenai, intertwining her fingers, tightly, strongly, to the point of pain. Invest chakra and bones will break. Before Asuma, Naruto was ashamed. For allowing his father to die. because she wanted the third to die. But not so much that you drown yourself in pity and guilt. They won't wait. This is the world of shinobi, and it is cruel. A little far from the central, wide street of Konoha there was an outwardly unremarkable restaurant. The whole group of jonins poured in there. Apparently, they were already expected, since the largest, corner table was farmed out. Naruto already habitually positioned herself facing the exit, Anko sat down next to her, and Genma sat on the other side. Might Guy, Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai took the remaining seats. Yuhi never let go of the man's hand, and he didn't resist. At such moments, human warmth was needed to feel alive. Kotetsu and Izumo were unable to get out, now the gate had to be guarded more carefully. They brought sake, everyone drank the first glass in silence, in one gulp. For the third, for Gekko hate, for those who suffered and died during Orochimaru's attack. They remembered. Naruto tried not to wrinkle her nose, she absolutely did not like the taste of sake. But she couldn't help but drink, not this time. Just circulate chakra throughout the body and remove traces of alcohol intoxication. Unlike the others, she did not want to forget herself. As well as drowning your grief. And a drunken Jinchuriki who has come to an agreement with his demon is not something that the already damaged village can endure. The girl giggled at her thoughts, and realized that it was time to finish with sake. As well as with the mournful silence hanging over the table. The night was deepening outside, and there were no jonins anymore. Asuma clicked his lighter melancholically, a gift from his father when he came of age. And he couldn't let go of Yuhi. She dozed off, leaning against a strong shoulder. Anko climbed to hug Kakashi, who stroked her shoulder and the snake sticking out of the sleeve of his coat, and another snake. And so on in a circle. Might Guy did not destroy the restaurant, although he drank along with the others. Which spoke in favor of the assumption that the rest of the time he was simply acting out situations where alcohol had too much influence on him. Not a word was spoken the entire time. Also silently, everyone got ready to go home. But many people definitely feel a little better. Ibiki, who arrived in time, habitually threw Anko over his shoulder. Kakashi and Guy left together. Shiranui risked moving with a shunshin. As Naruto found out the next morning, he ended up with the tired Katsumami and fell asleep on their rug. Asuma left with Yuha. Naruto once again expelled chakra, sharply moved her shoulders, shaking off the sticky feeling of someone else's sadness, this mournful silence in which they drank, and breathed in the fresh night air of Konoha. Life goes on, and tomorrow she will have to solve new problems. Well, that's not interesting. Naruto raised her eyebrows in surprise. The house greeted her with a strange phrase. Keiko watched her younger relative take off her shoes and sighed sadly. I was hoping to look at you drunk, she said, her glasses sparkling in the semi-darkness. You will not get it. Naruto snorted, straightening up and heading to her room. Drunk Uzumaki, how do you imagine that? By the amount of destruction, I mean. Keiko giggled. Yes, scarlet demons should not drink in any way. Not with their chakra reserves and imagination. Okay, bedtime for me. Thank you for waiting. Good night. Yeah, calm down. The council of clan heads was assembled the very next day. The village could not remain without a ruler for long. Enemy allies could take advantage of this. My respects, Uchiha. Some waved her hand welcomingly. Inuzuka. My respect, Inuzuka-san. There was no point in being offended by the woman's familiarity, she talked to everyone like that. So, the elders have already chosen? 2 candidates. The voice is hoarse, as if smoky, although Naruto knew that some couldn't even stand the smell of tobacco. Jerky, like a bark, with growling notes. The Jounin Council also approved them. Jiraiya and Tsunade. To be honest, I would prefer the latter. She expressively raised her eyes to grief. Naruto giggled mischievously, echoing the amusement in the dog lady's eyes. Yes, the godfather got too carried away, collecting information for his books, and came across the bathhouses of a clan of dog lovers. And he met the adult members of the clan. And also with Tsum's eldest daughter, Hannah. She never met her godfather in person. Children's resentment for their own childhood got in the way. Well, what stopped him from visiting his student's daughter at least occasionally? It's stupid to think like that, but Naruto couldn't help herself. Resentment burned from within, spinning like a nimble little snake, not allowing itself to be forgotten. I think Jiraiya-san himself will refuse. The girl watched as the rest of her colleagues on the council took their places. He prefers reconnaissance than wiping his pants behind a pile of papers. Some grinned approvingly. Danzo took the right to vote. He briefly outlined the decision made by the elders, which the Jonin agreed with. He offered to consider candidates. Surprisingly, he didn't even offer his own. Apparently, he understood that those around him were well aware of his dream of trying on the Kage hat. And they will not allow it to be fulfilled while there are at least some other options. As expected by the female part of the council, everyone agreed with Tsunade's candidacy. All that remains is to find the great loser, as she was called in many cities with gambling establishments. Clan scouts obtained information on the departed princess of the Senju clan. A player, and an unlucky one, a drunkard. Well, she can afford that, as a Dr. Tai is hot-tempered, temperamental, with good skills, which is not good given the two qualities mentioned earlier. Naruto. The girl blinked her eyes, quickly emerging from her own thoughts. Fortunately, no one guessed that she had listened to the final part of the discussion of the search for Tsunade. Danzo himself approached her. The only visible eye glared at her. It made her feel uneasy, goosebumps ran across her skin. However, the girl skillfully hid the unpleasant feeling. Yes, Danzo-san? Tilted her head to the side. I would like your squad to look for Tsunade. They are excellent scouts, said the old man. Now all the shinobi are busy with construction and tasks so that no one finds out about the temporary weakness of the village. Therefore, he did not finish speaking. Yeah, weaken the clan, leave it without protection. If we take into account the number of cities where the Sannin could be located, the entire detachment will need to be sent out in search. Maybe I should also hand Sasuke directly to the root, tied with a ribbon as a farewell? I'm afraid that's impossible, Danzo-san. The girl answered decisively. Many police shinobi have asked for family leave to help their relatives rebuild, to replace them while they are being treated. Almost my entire squad is now replacing them. She spread her hands. The main thing is not to overplay. And strengthen the protective barrier around the clan territory. Danzo paused, apparently pondering the information. Was it consistent with what his spies had reported? It is also agreed that Shursui personally took care of this. I understand. He nodded. Then you won't refuse to use your summons for this purpose? Of course not. Naruto shrugged. Only I will need to take a break to restore my energy. He doesn't need to know that she has access to the fox's chakra reserve. It's strange that Hyuga didn't interfere. Usually he did not miss the opportunity to strengthen his own clan and wrest some privileges. Oh, Hyuga's silence is suspicious. The heads had already left. Naruto followed Danzo to the Hokage's office. Everything there seemed to be as usual, but the girl noticed some traces of a quick, thorough search. During his lifetime, Hiruzen accumulated a lot of incriminating evidence, so his comrades rushed to protect themselves. The documents were missing. They were removed so that the new Hokage would start over with a new leaf. Well, or made a request to the archive. At the corner of the table, as always, there was a transparent ball, with the help of which the third could keep an eye on Konoha, peep, so to speak, into areas not protected by barriers. They say that he belonged to the second, who was a very loving individual. It's not hard to guess how he used it. The elders were already in the office in the company of the Toad Sannin. Naruto winced slightly. She was offended. And I understood everything. How much easier it would be to just be offended, without understanding the situation. Good afternoon. Naruto smiled brightly. Elders, Jiraiya-san. Here are the photographs of Tsunade. Koharu rasped, immediately getting down to business. The girl nodded and took the photo. She bit her finger and made a call. The room was filled with black feathers, the noise and rustle of black wings, and hoarse croaking. and it is impossible to make out whether this is reality or a carefully applied genjutsu. Even the ANBU from the ceiling did not have time to figure it out when a ball of black feathers, prickly and soft at the same time, flew out the window and broke into single points, each of which moved in its own direction. Before disappearing, they will transmit to me data about which cities they examined, whether Tsunade-san was there or not, Naruto reported. A day of continuous conscription, then the same amount of rest. Okay. Koharu nodded contentedly. We are expecting a report in a day. I obey. What a beautiful girl. Sanin could not stand it, his eyes sparkled. Maybe you can tell me your name, charming one? Thank you for the compliment. Naruto chuckled, anticipating the shock. Naruto Uchiha, formerly Uzumaki. Sanin turned pale and looked stunned as the girl bowed and disappeared into the Shunshin. She fell out at the entrance to the Hokage residence. And then she was professionally taken into Kakashi's entourage in the company of the Sadpakin. He nodded and disappeared with a pop, and the Jounin handed his friend a skewer with caramelized rice balls. Oh, dango! Naruto rejoiced at the sweets and immediately knocked out one ball. When did Shinobi refuse a snack, especially after wasting chakra? I thought you might need this. Kakashi chuckled. Yeah, thanks, Datebeo. The girl beamed. Well, what can you please me with, Kakashi-san? He sighed martyrically and rolled his visible eye. By order of the elders, the assignment of ranks is suspended until the appointment of the next Hokage. All genin teams receive missions at a construction site, in a hospital, or to care for small children. Missions outside of Konoha are prohibited. I know. Naruto winced. Right now I want to run away. But safety comes first. We discussed it at the council. She threw the skewer into the trash, and Kakashi silently handed her the next one. You're spoiling me. Naruto sighed with satisfaction. They walked slowly, at a walking pace, towards the clan quarter. Naruto thought with sadness that the deadline for monthly rent payments for the land from the residents of the quarter had just arrived. She would need to calculate the amount of tax and submit statements to the treasurer of the village. Hire construction workers to inspect buildings annually. View reports from the latest missions, write back to customers in order to stall for time. For technical reasons. Because she didn't lie to Danzo when she said that the squad worked for the police. Well, I exaggerated a little. Kakashi-san, she drawled, turning to the shinobi and prayerfully folding her arms over her chest. Can I send a clone instead of myself on missions, HM? I tried to look like Sasuke, whose last tomato is being taken away. Judging by the captain's reaction, it worked. Kakashi chuckled cheerfully. And what I get for this? He drawled mockingly. Oh, that reminds me of something. I will hide you from Guy for a week after the appointment of Hokage. 2 and deal. Fine. Still, you can come to an agreement even with the copier. The mood, spoiled by the council and Danzo, was rapidly gaining height. The world around was blurred by a colored blur. Breathing whistled and wheezing escaped from the chest, sweat burned his eyes. The movement of the wind made the wet skin covered with chills and still burned, as if someone had poured liquid fire under the skin. The short top was dark in damp circles, as was the waistband of the old breeches. But most dangerous of all were the sparks created by each clash of blades. They slid in exciting proximity to the skin, touching the short blonde hairs on the arms. Naruto jumped back and shielded herself from the ninja's kunai. Her arms ached as Keiko leaned almost her entire body on the weapon, trying to push through the defense. The concentrated chakra did not allow it to go down Uzumaki, felt and few in traps. All the air around was saturated with this chakra, not fiery, not cold, but not indifferent either. Alive, hot, thinking and feeling. Like the embodiment of the nickname of the scarlet-haired clan. Naruto moved as if in the sea, raked it with her hands, cut it with her own body, and it closed behind her back as soon as she took a step forward. Keiko had no ability in ninjutsu or genjutsu, leaving only enhanced taijutsu. Like all Uzumaki, her chakra reserves were superior to those of other shinobi. And she learned to use it masterfully. Not only to strengthen blows, to heal or create explosive seals, but also to attack and slow down the enemy with it. Everything in the world is imbued with natural chakra. It is light, almost transparent, harmonious. Shinobi, having their own energy, stand out in it, like liquids with different densities in water. That's why they float up, they can move and fight. Keiko cut them off from their natural chakra and surrounded them with her oppressive aura. I laughed that I learned this from a biju. They unknowingly used the same technique. Naruto fought not only with the kunoichi opposite, but also with the nature around her, with the air itself. If she hadn't been a Jinchuriki, accustomed to fiery, burning chakra, she would have fizzled out long ago. But no, after 2 hours of battle she was still fluttering, and she liked it to work to the limit, to know that the enemy will not spare you, will not give in. She dodged another kunai swing and moved Keiko's leg to the side. And she ran through the trees, although every step was not easy. The woman caught up with her, pulled her tail, and Naruto fell to the ground screaming, only to immediately dodge the flying throwing weapon. She rolled over and picked up the ninja again. The cutting waves of the wind were small, weak, and acted at a short distance. It was only enough to keep the older Uzumaki away from him. "What are you planning to do with Itachi?" Keiko whispered, pressing close, tugging at her pigtail. Naruto felt her breathing falter, her heartbeat quickening. And the pulsation of the chakra deep in the hearth, animated, furious. In a fight, this would mean Naruto's neck being twisted and the sensor released. But now they were playing, still a friendly duel. To release the tension that has accumulated over the past days. Naruto herself asked for serious training, and Keiko agreed if in exchange the girl answered a couple of questions honestly. "The one tail is dead and will not be reborn in the next 8 to 10 years. Uzumaki continued attacking. She poked the tip of the kunai like a piercing sword, and Naruto slipped away to the left and to the right. So, Akatsuki will also have to wait. It is impossible to summon a Bijou from the world where he goes after the death of a Jinchuriki. Only when it appears again can we find a person who would be able to control it, and have the energy suitable for this. According to this principle, Kushina, Naruto's mother, was singled out from the entire clan. The same as with Shursui. Naruto breathed and ducked under the outstretched hand. And she gasped. Keiko quickly bent her leg and pushed her away with a knee to the stomach. Uzumaki's flexibility could not help but admire. "So what, you spit on your own reputation and start living with a seemingly different man?" The woman sang mockingly, her eyes burning with truly demonic fire. Sasuke sat under a tree at the edge of the clearing, the scroll that he was reading unfolded, moving in the wind, as the owner had completely forgotten about it, carried away by his sister's duel. Karen basked in Shursui's arms and actively supported either her mother or Naruto, depending on what her fiancé whispered to her. They couldn't hear what the fighters were saying. Reflecting the blow, the girl chuckled mockingly and a little sarcastically. The psychology of the human masses is one-sided and wretched. People are prejudiced against those who have more, even if it only seems so. Naruto remained faithful to Itachi all this time, not proudly, not for show, but everyone knew that she had no one. Even though the elder Uchiha became a nukenin, even if he betrayed the village, Naruto was considered his wife. And many agreed with Naruto's behavior, even if they didn't say it out loud. Having a lover would cause a scandal. No one will discuss this out loud, no one will say it to her face, but whispers will appear behind her back again. How tired of this! All these years Naruto had not lived for herself, for the Uchiha, and now she wanted to get at least something for personal use, to grab a little happiness. Isn't she asking enough? "I don't care," the former Uzumaki hissed angrily. "If necessary, I will marry him again." And the chakra around flared up, pulsated, submitting to her rage, her power. Keiko looked at her younger friend in surprise and pride at the same time. And she lowered the kunai. The training was completed. The chakra slowly dissipated. Naruto collapsed to the ground as if knocked down, unable to feel either her arms or her legs. She was dead tired, and there was a blissful emptiness in her head. "Naruto-sama," Ryu leaned over her. "A message to you from the head of the Hyuga clan." Without getting up, I had to read the ornate letter. Well, what should he write normally? The lines flickered before my eyes, the main meaning floated somewhere far, far away. When Naruto finally realized what Hyuga wanted from her, she groaned muffledly. What's happened? Keiko raised her eyebrow, wiping herself with the towel handed to Sasuke. Tomorrow Hayashi-san wants to pay a courtesy visit for a cup of tea. The letter hid the expression on the former Uzumaki's face. For some reason there was no doubt that it was suffering. And what's so scary about that? Keiko didn't understand. Karen also looked puzzled. But Shursui and Sasuke giggled maliciously. Ceremonial, Naruto explained, groaning. The sofa creaked doomly when the tired carcass of the head of the Uchiha clan fell onto it with a flourish. Naruto laid her head on Sasuke's lap and immediately began to take off her outer kimono, preferably without getting up laziness. Under the kimono, a thin summer dress was revealed. The girl did not want to put on all the layers of traditional clothing. Every Hayashi visit Hyuga is a complete nightmare because of the man's adherence to tradition. He can talk for hours about poetry and paintings, but never get to the point. At the same time, find out everything he needs. Naruto learned with difficulty to maneuver among the verbal outpourings and was glad that she did not meet Hyuga face to face very often. Still, the former Uzumaki was a too straightforward creature. She loved to say everything to her face. And only the position of head of the clan taught her to think before opening her mouth. Therefore, she sipped her tea in small sips, listened about nature and the weather, agreed and waited for Hyuga to move on to the main part of the conversation, for which he asked to visit. After all, he didn't just come, especially after the Council of Clans. What did he want? Keiko sat down opposite. The woman turned out to have too many days off. She was not trusted with any important assignments. She worked too little time under the previous Hokage. The question of her loyalty was to be decided by the present. If he is found. Naruto had just stopped calling to take a break. At the same time I handed over the report. No traces of Tsunade were found, or rather, no fresh traces wherever the crows were able to overhear conversations about her. The woman justified the title of Great Loser. And the exhausted, suffering personality, dreaming of forgetting about the past, Sanin plunged too deeply into his own and other people's mistakes. I didn't save my brother, I didn't save my loved one, I didn't save my teammate. How many of them are those whom she did not save? Naruto rubbed her temples and promised to think about it tomorrow. He wanted us to accept Niji into the police. For a while. But why? Sasuke was not so much indignant as amazed at this fact. Naruto herself understood the amazement of her younger brother. Byakugan makers rarely transferred anyone to another clan, even if only temporarily. And the police are under the auspices of the Uchiha. They had a council of the clan elders, Shursui said understandingly. How nice it is to deal with a genius! And what does it mean? Niji belongs to a side branch of the Hyuga clan. During the exam he used a technique that was prohibited for people like him. If he had won, no one would have said a word. Everyone would consider Hayashi's nephew a genius at everything. And now, after the loss, most likely, the elders demand his blood for violating the ancient rules. Shursui explained. Still, in some matters the final word belongs to them. And Hayashi-san decided to hide Niji with us until the elders leave. Sasuke responded understandingly, wrinkling his forehead. His team is disbanded until he recovers, so Gai-sensei can't step in either. Naruto loved watching his brother struggle to think, reflect, build chains and draw conclusions. The result was simply touchingly charming. And what did you answer? He lowered his gaze to his sister. She shrugged. What could I say? I agreed, of course. We will need such a censor. Naruto yawned. So, starting tomorrow we will meet a new member of the Konoha Police, Hyuga Niji. I'm tired of this, Itachi. Naruto? The Uchiha looked in surprise at his wife walking along the rocky plateau of the summoning world. Naruto looked more than just exhausted. And the man understood the reason for her condition. Again the question arose before him, loyalty to the village or loyalty to the family. Only, unlike the previous case, he loved, respected and understood this family completely. I'm tired, Itachi. The girl looked at him with pain. Tired of being strong, understanding, smiling and nodding like a porcelain doll. I'm tired of forgiving all insults and carrying the entire clan on myself. All these years I was silent, didn't say anything, so as not to upset either Sasuke or you, but don't I really deserve a little happiness? Why can't I be selfish? Just a little bit. She almost begged, hugging herself with her arms, turning to a lonely tree. I'm tired of deceiving everyone and everything, playing. I would feel calmer if you were around. And to the debt to the village, it owes us no less. Because of all these games and intrigues, Naruto. The girl walked away from the touch. No. Not now, don't touch me. I need to be alone. She evaporated with the quiet rustle of a raven's feathers. Itachi buried his forehead in his knees. Make a choice again. Naruto groaned and hit her head on the table, then again and again. Well, I couldn't restrain myself and made myself look like a complete idiot and hysterical. But how tired she was, who would know? Not to pretend or lie, but to always smile, to meet the expectations placed on her. Weapon of the village, head of the Uchiha clan, albeit temporary, wife of a genius, wife of a nuke-nin, sister of a genius. How many more titles will they assign to a blue-eyed blonde with the famous mono on her clothes without seeing her? She didn't lie. If Itachi had been there, even in disguise, she would have been able to survive everything, she would have been able to cope. But he is far away, and anxiety eats away at her not by days, but by hours, even minutes. No one wonders when the last time the head of the Uchiha clan slept properly. Without nightmares, without the cold trembling of awakening, when the death of your beloved husband is still before your eyes, his empty, brightened eyes, mindlessly looking into the dark skies. And the cry of ravens is heard. He began to seem prophetic to her. She only made his life more difficult, but she could no longer remain silent, she had no right. Not with him. There should be no secrets from Itachi. She is tired. Just tired. The endless call, the search for Tsunade, clan duties, reports, missions, taxes, training with Sasuke, everything came at once, draining her slowly but surely. Naruto rose from her chair, tiredly rubbed her eyelids, pressing them until there were red circles in front of her eyes. And went to the bathroom. She needs to calm down, and a hot shower will help best. Calm down and go to bed. And pray that this time she doesn't dream of a dead Itachi. Hello? Can I sit next to you? Naruto had just gotten out to the river when a well-known hermit approached her. Although at the moment she would prefer to face Orochimaru again rather than have emotional conversations with her godfather. Blame it on bad dreams, she never managed to get enough sleep last night. It's good that she at least sent Sasuke and Shursui to train until Kakashi found them another mission to eat a plant unknown to science. For no plant crop had such a thirst for life that it could grow on rocky soil with a minimum of watering. Of course. She waved her hand. I won't bother you. I can leave. No. The Sannin shook his head. I just wanted to talk to you, Naruto. I see. Eloquently, but there was simply no strength left for more. The quarrel with Itachi left a bitter aftertaste in my soul. Naruto put down the papers and turned her gaze to the river. Silence reigned, the girl was in no hurry to break it, she watched the sunbeams splashing in the deep water and casting glare on the coastal grass and the lower part of the wide bridge. Beautiful. You probably don't know. The Sannin hesitated slightly. But I'm your godfather. Naruto sighed heavily. I know. Oh. You are very similar to your father. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You were lucky, she said slowly. You knew him. But all my life I was told that my parents were monsters just like me, since they gave birth to a monster. And it's good that they died. The residents of the village did not love her very much. After her marriage and the story of the murder of the clan, there was no more love, but an instinct of self-preservation appeared, prompting her not to openly call names on a girl passing by. Jiraiya-san. Naruto rubbed her eyelids and the bridge of her nose. Neither I nor you need close relationships. You will go off looking for inspiration again, and I will stay here in the village. How long will I see you? 2 or 3 days at most, no more. I need a family, now I have people who have done more for me, much more. I don't need the name of a great Sannin instead of a godfather, stories of adventures. Ika. I need a real person. Sorry if I was rude. She bowed, collected the papers and left the shore, leaving the extremely confused Sannin behind her. Cruel, but true. She is no longer that silly girl who reaches out for every kind word, every understanding look, sympathy and affection. She has a family for which she is responsible. You're angry. Naruto grinned. As always, the younger brother perfectly read her mood just by the crease between her eyebrows and the curve of her lips. And he was the only one who was not afraid to approach. Sasuke lay down on his knees, buried his nose in his stomach and hugged the girl around the waist. At home, inside a block and a barrier, where no one outside will see, you can afford such weakness. And Naruto felt like the lumps in her chest and stomach were becoming lighter, melting before her eyes until they disappeared completely. Sasuke's presence was healing in itself. She never regretted reaching out to the little boy on the windowsill at the academy. She never regretted marrying his brother. And even more so about guardianship. Sasuke forced her to continue, no matter what. Everything she did for him and Itachi. Well, now also for the sake of the Keiko family. Naruto grinned. Karen is not even twisting ropes out of Shursui ropes. At this rate, he will take his wife's surname. The story with Jiraiya left an unpleasant aftertaste in my soul. Of course, Naruto understood that the man was the best scout in the village, the strongest scout. And that he could simply be ordered not to approach the Jinchuriki of the fox. But, now he was talking, he was not afraid. Now he approached boldly. When Naruto had already grown up. Gained and lost. Somewhere at the edge of her consciousness the thought flashed that she was not too fair, even cruel towards a man. But Naruto remembered that animal melancholy when she saw how other children were taken away from the orphanage by new parents. When she was an adult for others and no one was an adult for her. When they whispered behind her back, they hid the children from her. A message came from one of the ravens. Tsunade was found. The scouts heard that she should come to Tanzaka to recoup. Sasuke moved away in understanding when his sister tugged at his long lock of hair. Naruto stood up and went out into the yard. Ryu-san, how is Hyuga coping? Niji? Behind with your back immediately arose Shinobi. No complaints, Naruto-sama. The girl bit her lip. If she was right in her calculations, I may soon have to leave Konoha for a while, so you will remain in charge. I obey. So, Tanzaku. Yes, elders, Danzo-san. The old men looked at each other. Naruto and Jiraiya waited patiently for the conversation to continue. Naruto, Jiraiya-san, you will go and try to bring Tsunade Senju to Konoha, Kohara finally decided. The girl nodded briefly and walked out the door. As she thought, the elders cannot give power into the hands of Danzo, and for this they need the triumphant return of the legendary loser. And they decided to use her long-standing affection for the only surviving teammate and comrade and Minato and Kushina. At one time, Tsunade was close to the previous Jinchuriki. It was rumored that if she had not left, she would have become Naruto's godmother. And also they wisely left Sasuke in the village. Naruto's paranoia grew and flourished. It will be necessary to ask Ryo-san not to give any missions to Shursui, so that he will relentlessly follow his younger brother and watch. In their free time, Karen and Keiko can do the same. Naruto pinched the bridge of her nose. She seems to be overdoing it, but sometimes it's better to overdo it so you don't regret anything later. Naruto, when are we leaving? Sannin was surprisingly serious. As far as Naruto knew, and she knew from Anko, the Great Trinity had never crossed paths since leaving the village. They tried not to meet, not to stir up the past. It hurts too much. Tomorrow, if you don't mind. For the rest of the day and most of the night, Naruto rushed around the room, collecting things, putting away spare clothes, weapons, explosive seals, weapon scrolls, food scrolls, an expanded version of the first aid kit. Her movements were monitored by the Uzumaki along with Shisui and Sasuke. Naruto instructed them to keep an eye on their brother, clarifying where it was best to do this, which observation points to choose, without noticing that it is repeating itself. This would have continued if Keiko had not grabbed the girl by the shoulders. Calm down, Naruto, everything will be fine, we'll look after Sasuke. Naruto suddenly went dark and slumped. Sorry, I'm worried. I have a bad feeling. Something will happen, something very, very serious. And I'm scared. And admitting your own weakness, even to your family, is not easy. Everything will be fine, we can handle it. Keiko hugged her friend and squeezed. Many consider the Uzumaki to be demons, not only because of their strength and restless nature, but also because of their connection to the world. Their premonitions almost certainly came true. The elder Uzumaki remembered how worried she herself was on the eve of the attack on the village where she lived. And if it weren't for Shisui. So maybe Naruto feels something similar too. Or did she just quarrel with the one with whom she went into the draft world almost every evening? The faint bursts of chakra, almost completely extinguished by the barrier in the office, suddenly stopped. And since then, Naruto has been all on edge, anxious for no reason. But the woman didn't know how to calm her down. They reached Tanzaki using chakra in half a day. The city was stunning, deafening. People were having fun and dancing. A city of entertainment, a city of excitement, the wildest dreams came true here. Here you could buy almost everything for money. Naruto wrinkled her nose, catching the lingering smell of alcohol, and noticed how Jiraiya broke into a smile. Smell like Inuzuka dogs. However, if we take into account the common interests of the two Sannin, you need to look for Tsunade in some drinking establishment. There! The Sannin pointed his finger and boldly headed towards one tavern, the entrance of which was covered with a traditional curtain. The Uchiha shrugged and silently followed her godfather. They didn't talk the entire way. Naruto warned that if Jiraiya was distracted by inspiration, he would leave without him. The irrational resentment still continued to exist, smoldering somewhere inside the heart. Keiko always said with a laugh that you shouldn't try to understand women. Because of their illogicality, they are the most dangerous opponents in the world. And if they were also strong, like men. The new Mizukage is an example for you. Time had no power over Tsunade Senju. Young-looking, about 30 years old, blonde with 2 low ponytails. And the desperate, sick look of a beaten dog. She still wore her name proudly and raised her chin, but she no longer had the passion that Naruto's Jonin friends had described. It went out, deflated like a balloon. Tsu, long time no see. Jiraiya waved his hand, sitting down at the table. Naruto sat down in front of Kaito's Shizen. At one time, after the death of her groom, Tsunade grabbed Dan's only surviving relative and ran away while she had the strength. She sold all the clan's property, converted it into money, and disappeared without a trace. Shizen nodded affably and a little awkwardly and said hello. And she tried to take the bottle from her mentor, a lost cause. Moreover, now Jiraiya has joined Tsunade. The Sannins drank silently, looking each other straight in the eyes, as if they were performing their own ritual. I won't return, Jiraiya, the woman said silently, with bitterness. Her voice turned out to be velvety, chesty. Beautiful. They are offering you to become Hokage Tsu, Jiraiya said calmly. Fulfill the dream of Dan and Navaki. Don't mention them. Tsunade hit the table with her fist, the dishes jumped and clanged, and those around her didn't even pay attention. From which the Uchiha concluded that such scenes are not uncommon here. Why? She intervened. Because you betray their aspirations? The dream of Dan and Tsunade's brother, Nawaki, was also talked about a lot, if you know who to ask. Both wanted to become Hokage, change the world for the better, make sure that there were no more wars, and shinobi did not kill each other. There were no orphans left, no children died. Tsunade turned her gaze to the new character, and a chill ran down Naruto's spine. Absolutely sober, angry look. Now she would have to either run or defend herself. Or look for words to open this purulent abscess. She has absolutely no time for tearful persuasion, for bets and arguments, she needs to return to Konoha. Naruto was worried about her brother, she was scared. Although now the Uchiha clan is much stronger, Shursui and two Uzumaki are with them. They defended their sister and fiancé, a famous medic who was tearing his veins for the sake of the village, who proposed a new team formation, thanks to which there were fewer casualties. For the sake of the doctor who has improved so many medicines and written so many programs. For the sake of a woman who would never betray Konoha. They fought and shared their dreams with you for a reason. The awareness of their own guilt came in full force. Didn't she do the same to Itachi? Didn't she leave him at a difficult moment? When he is away from the village, away from his family, alone, without people to rely on. Selfish? That's right, she was selfish when she made her claims. When she demanded the impossible from him, he abandoned the Hokage task. He protected her all the time, and she. I wanted to give a damn about Tsunade Senju, rush to the nearest hotel, put up a barrier and dive into the dank, deathly recruiting world to see Itachi again, ask for forgiveness. Tsunade carefully observed the metamorphoses taking place on the face of the seemingly emotionless girl. Jiraiya, get out. Eh? What? Sanin didn't understand. Go find some inspiration. Shizen, help him get settled in some hotel. The assistant nodded understandingly and pulled the reluctant Sanin along with her. But the opportunity to visit the springs without the stern gaze of his goddaughter and friend overpowered him. Jiraiya obeyed. Tsunade silently pulled over a small bowl and poured sake into it. I offended him. The liquid burned his insides and spread bitterly across the sky. She said something she shouldn't have said. But I was too tired to bear everything on myself. I was left alone, with the clan, with my brother. And I didn't even imagine that it would be so bad without him. I thought the thought that he was out there somewhere, alive, more or less healthy, was enough for me. But he is sick and silent, doesn't say anything. She didn't remember what happened next. Tsunade kept adding more and more. The sake was buzzing in her ears. Vaguely, it seemed to Naruto that the Senju princess was also telling something, nodding in understanding. Who else but she can understand the responsibility of the temporary head? Naruto woke up to the fact that she was terribly, simply horribly stormy. The sun was shining brightly, my hair hung over my eyes, in my nose and mouth. The girl spat out the chewed strands. It seems like she was being carried somewhere on a shoulder. A familiar tail of gray hair loomed before my eyes. The tabi was knocking, quietly, and hammering like nails into my temples. Awoke? A disgustingly cheerful voice was screwed into my ears. That's why she never drank, never at all. A hangover is the most terrible weapon. If you want to conquer the village, all you have to do is provide everyone with unlimited free booze. The healing chakra went through the body, removing the remnants of the hangover. But not hallucinations. Because a grunting pink dwarf pig wearing beads now appeared before my eyes. Tun-tun. The woman shouted. Don't get in the way, I'm trying to treat her as I go. By the way, why doesn't the Nine Tails help? Because you're a bastard! He roars with laughter in the cage and declares that this is what someone needs. A stupid vessel will not get so drunk in the company of a doctor who can neutralize the consequences of intoxication in himself. Tsunade-san? And at night she called so tenderly Bie-chan. Senju mimicked sarcastically. It became bad, that is, even worse than it was. What did she manage to blurt out? What did she admit? There is a continuous fog of alcohol production in my head. Naruto looked up at the sober and serious Senju princess. She smiled at the corners of her lips. I decided to accept the village's offer. In some ways, you were right, they didn't fight for me, like that. She wrapped her hands around herself. And in general, sleep. Naruto obediently sagged like a limp rag, promising herself to never drink again. In life. She still did not enter leaf on her godfather's hump. She managed to walk on her own legs, although at the first opportunity Keiko anxiously asked why the head was so pale. And she burst out laughing when she heard the answer. Kurama still refused to treat his host and laughed maliciously, for which Naruto vengefully created a storm. They swore an oath to Tsunade, and the Senju princess donned the Kage hat, officially becoming the head of the village. And she immediately called Naruto to her. I need an assistant. Sanin got down to business without further equivocation. Shizen will take care of the hospital, good organization is needed there, and it's high time for Kato to realize herself, she can't always stay behind my back. She's an excellent doctor, she can handle it. I need an assistant with secretary functions, whom I can trust unconditionally. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Do you think it's me? Tsunade nodded decisively. Yes. All business will go through you, you will carry out some assignments. The girl still hesitated. I don't know much about this whole kitchen. Then we'll study together. Senju snapped and immediately softened. There isn't a person in the village I know more about. And who would know more about me? I want to remove the excessive power of the elders, limit the power of Danzo, his influence on current politics, but I need support. Naruto bit her lip. Last time, her clan was destroyed for political games. But then the Hokage was not unconditionally on their side. If she becomes a helper, it will be the best option for her, so she can spend more time in the village with her family. And shadow cloning is a great technique when you need to do everything at once. Besides, Tsunade never revealed what exactly they were talking about. She didn't tell anyone, although for her connection with the Nuke Nin, if it was revealed, Naruto could be recognized as a traitor and executed, having first removed the tailed one from her. It's a risk, but such is the life of a shinobi. Constant danger with the hope that the decision made, the mission accomplished will make the future of caring people better. And she also wanted to influence Danzo and the elders. For Itachi's return. I agree. Officially, her position sounded like an errand girl, with the functions of a walking teapot, and sometimes a coffee pot. The Jonins called her a nanny behind her back, because she was the one who pulled her Hokage out of the paper rubble and drove her home, fed her for lunch, and made sure that she always had a couple of clean sheets of paper, a brush and an inkwell at hand. She also organized couriers who ran on assignments for the new Hokage, rummaged through personal affairs, looking for the best bodyguards. However, she taught these bodyguards secrecy and disguise. She threw saban at them if she discovered them. And soon they learned to hide literally behind a tub of cactus, at which Shiranui chuckled vindicatively. Genma. Life was in full swing. In the evenings she trained with Sasuke, when she managed to come home on time, and at night she was busy with the affairs of the clan. What the clones did not have time to do. Fortunately, family affairs were going well. Naruto, taking care of her brother, debugged the mechanism to the smallest detail, so that she could only control and deal with rare emergency situations. Another lunch found the Hokage with stacks of paper. Surprisingly, Tsunade drank little, and never at work. Naruto knew that Danzo had come and tried to put pressure on the medic, but Senju did not succumb to provocations. More reports? Tsunade slammed her forehead onto the countertop. Naruto grinned knowingly. The Hokage had just finished the last stack. Quite a bit. Current missions. Don't be afraid, they were supervised by Iraka-sensei, and he has strict requirements for handwriting and design. Tsunade arched an eyebrow, defiantly taking out a crumpled piece of paper with slanting lines, clearly lost on the road of life. Well, they're strict with almost everyone. Naruto corrected herself. The woman pushed the stack aside, crossed her arms, and glared at her assistant. Naruto, sit down, we need to talk. This kind of beginning somehow worries me. Tsunade sighed. You know, I ordered Jiraiya to collect information on the Akatsuki group. Yesterday a new report arrived. While trying to leave the organization, a Leaf spy was killed. Itachi Uchiha. Naruto felt like the whole world had collapsed on her. The world stopped, and only somewhere inside my heart beat indomitably, not wanting to stop. Naruto couldn't believe what she heard. Itachi, her Itachi, the brilliant shinobi, the most capable in Konoha, dead? Someone say Kai. And it's all her fault. Her selfish, cruel request. If not for this, Itachi would still be alive. But her husband tried to fulfill her wish. And died. Even my thoughts faltered at this point. Naruto couldn't believe it. She stood up and walked on wooden legs towards the exit. Naruto, please forgive me, I have to leave. Just before the door, Tsunade's voice stopped her. Naruto, don't forget you have Sasuke. The girl nodded and closed the door behind her. After walking a couple of steps, she leaned against the cool wall of the corridor. I don't care if anyone sees her in this state. My legs couldn't hold up at all, my breathing came out wheezing. Itachi, her Itachi. But the Hokage is right, she has Sasuke, she has no right to fall apart, for the sake of her brother. She is no stranger to cheering herself up with kicks, no stranger to gritting her teeth and moving forward, tearing her soul to shreds, leaving a bloody trail behind her. She's no stranger to it. For Sasuke's sake, for the sake of her family, she must try. Although I wanted to howl. It took a lot of effort to get unstuck from the wall, but the girl overcame herself and walked towards the exit on her unbending legs. An ANBU landed on the street next to her. Hokage-sama ordered to escort you home, Uchiha-san. Naruto just nodded, she only remembered the road, but did not notice the people around. And the tenacious, strong hand of the shinobi, which periodically grabbed her elbow, made it possible to avoid a collision. The Hokage is right, she has Sasuke, she cannot commit suicide, as Tsunade probably feared. In any case, Naruto would not do anything like that, it was too simple, too low for someone who was used to fighting. I'll take her further. Keiko sank down next to her. I have orders. The ANBU said dispassionately. Tell Hokage-sama that you have entrusted her to safe hands. Don't worry, I'll deliver you safe and sound. Uzumaki waved her hand impatiently. And Naruto noticed that the woman was seriously excited. Outwardly, it hardly showed up, only the eyes shone more than usual, and a couple of thin curls escaped from the hairstyle. When the ANBU disappeared, Keiko leaned towards the head's ear. Naruto, we have problems. She hissed, tenaciously grabbed him by the elbow and moved him with a shunshin to the gate of the clan quarter. There was a barrier preventing entry inside in this way. Keiko dragged the girl along the streets like a hurricane, not allowing her to catch her breath. Naruto barely had time to mince her feet. Her body had not yet coped with the shock of her husband's death. The eldest Uzumaki literally carried her relative into the house in her arms, closed the door and pushed Naruto into the living room. During the hours of Naruto's absence, the situation had changed. The furniture was moved towards the walls, freeing up space in the center. There they laid out a futon on which a man was tossing about in a feverish delirium. The smell of blood, burned hair, and scorched skin filled my nose. Sasuke sat in the corner, biting his knuckles. Shursui, in the company of Karen, tried to hold the patient so that he would not harm himself, so that his throwing would not loosen the bandages on his chest and abdomen. Naruto couldn't believe her eyes. I pinched myself, the pain convinced me of the reality of what was happening. Lying in front of her was her husband, the Uchiha. Itachi. There was no need to doubt, he had already been tested for illusion, which means it was really him. The girl pulled herself together, and reminded her joyfully pounding heart that she could now lose her husband again if she didn't do anything. And she jumped up to the futon. She leaned on Itachi, opened her eyelids to look at the reaction of her pupils, and listened to the wheezing in her chest. Her knowledge was only sufficient to determine the extent of the damage. It fell out in your office. You didn't close the connection with the recruiting world. Keiko sat down next to him. Indeed, since the Senju returned to the village, Naruto had kept one raven with her. The bird did not expend much energy, but not the Jinchuriki, which even the flock could not exhaust. She kept hoping that Itachi would contact her, that they would be able to talk, and she would apologize. This is how it turned out. We accidentally found him, the door was ajar, he was bleeding. Naruto, this is... The girl nodded. Yes, Uchiha Itachi, my husband. They found 2 poisoned saban in his leg. Karen held out the needles on a strip of fabric. They left thin lilac-red stains. Poison, which I had never dealt with and could not treat. Naruto bit her lip. Karen, Sasuke, stay with Itachi. Keiko, Shursui, protective barrier at maximum, Postguards, don't let anyone out, check everyone entering at the henge. Yes, yes. The elders quickly left the room. I'll be back with the doctor soon, wait for me. Sasuke, help Karen hold Itachi. Yes, sister. The Hokage was still at her workplace, methodically going through reports, now from the Irenans. Although she could easily run away somewhere on her own business, Naruto more than once caught her boss almost on the border of Konoha. She looked at the disheveled assistant to the Hokage who burst into the office with indescribable surprise. Naruto. She jumped up and grabbed the woman by the elbow. Tsunade-san, I need your help. We're in the clan quarter. She waved off the ceiling and moved with a shunch to the gate. Just as Keiko had recently dragged her, she pulled the Senju along with her, not paying attention to the surprised looks from some of the tenants. Out of the corner of my eye I noticed the presence of Shursui in the shadows near the main gate. He checked everyone entering with his Sharingan, and since he was inside the barrier, no one would notice the use of dojutsu. And he hid well. Itachi no longer thrashed about, he lay motionless, pale, with black eyelids and cracked lips. Naruto's palms were sweating from excitement. Tsunade had every right to call the ANBU now and order their arrest. Anything to help my husband. Sanin cursed through her teeth and rushed towards the patient, pushing Karen away. She activated Shosen and began to use some of her medical techniques, almost sniffing Saban. She took out a syringe from a gutted first aid kit nearby. All shinobi are paranoid, and therefore their home supplies of medicine are not much different from combat or camp supplies on long-distance missions. Hold him. A commanding voice shook the children. Together with his brother and Karen, Naruto, just in case, held Itachi while the medic took his blood. She scribbled a note and packed everything into a scroll. Let one of yours pass this on to the hospital, Shizen. This poison is similar to the poisons of Chie. She made us suffer during the Third War with her developments. Naruto caught the first member of the squad she came across and passed on the order to the Hokage. She didn't let anyone inside. Such secrets cannot be kept by a large group. Keiko and Karen had seals against mental attacks, which the eldest Uzumaki had been taught by her parents. She also gave the same seal to Sasuke. They couldn't do anything against the Yamanaka invasion, but it was easy to keep their favorites secret. Shursui is Shursui. Naruto would like to see someone who can subdue the master of Genjutsu. But the Hokage will not check. Can she handle it? Tsunade nodded, continuing to pour medical chakra into the patient. I taught Shizen. The doctor shrugged. She is a diligent, smart girl. Just don't tell her who the antidote is for. Kaito is too, she hesitated, searching for words. Straightforward and simple-minded. The returning shinobi brought a package with him. Shizen, like a true professional, having learned that the teacher was dealing with complex poison literally in field conditions, handed over a dropper with a cleaning solution. Together with Senju medical techniques, this should have allowed the patient to hold out until a portion of the antidote was produced. Itachi barely moved, so Tsunade fearlessly stuck the needle into him, attached the container to the wall with Saban and activated the Iryujutsu again. She will need 2 or 3 hours. These were the longest hours of Naruto's life. Most of all, she suffered from the inability to do anything, to help in any way. The girl didn't run or rush around, knowing that she shouldn't break the concentration of the Sanina, who already had sweat on her forehead. But she was silenced so eloquently that in the end Tsunade could not stand it, and ordered her to wipe the patient to bring down the temperature a little. Naruto clutched the strip of fabric like a drowning person clutching a straw. She wiped her husband's pale, smooth skin and silently begged him to be patient, to hold out. Shizen personally brought the medicine to the clan quarter, and Senju left for a short time. After administering the antidote, the man's breathing became easier and calmer. Naruto looked down at the crumpled wet rag in her hands. It's over, Itachi is alive. No, it was all just beginning, now she needs to talk to the Hokage. Despite her fatigue, Tsunade nodded demandingly towards the doorway. Karen, look after Itachi. Sasuke, run to Keiko and Shursui, tell them that everything turned out okay, and come back. The relative looked at her head with concern. Naruto couldn't even smile to calm her down. The brother disappeared literally instantly in the right direction, and Naruto went to the kitchen. She put the kettle on and cladded the dishes, laying out treats on the table. Just to put off a difficult conversation. Her hands were shaking violently, and the girl had to concentrate so as not to break anything. She didn't know what reaction to expect from the Senju, and she hoped that Tsunade would take into account her merits and allow her family to escape before the proceedings. The mind was already figuring out ways of escape. The Uchiha remembered how much money they had in direct access if they had to urgently give up everything and flee from Konoha along with her husband, who had not yet come to his senses. Sure sway, Itachi, you have a lot of secrets, Naruto. The Sannin said thoughtfully as the girl sat down opposite her. The Uchiha did not raise her eyes from the cup in which a blade of grass stood in a column. Now it seemed like a form of mockery. There was a rustling sound, and a scroll tied with a blue ribbon lay on the table in front of her. Naruto unfolded it, ran her eyes through what was written and stared at the Hokage in amazement. This somehow did not fit in with reality. Senju nodded. I wanted to give it to you this evening, but I didn't have time. You intercepted me first. She took a sip of tea and chewed on a cookie. The teacher hedged his bets and signed the order appointing Itachi Uchiha on a high-ranking mission. Spying on the terrorist group Akatsuki. And the death of the family is an excellent legend. In fact, they were killed by someone else, most likely from the same organization. Naruto still couldn't come to her senses. This changed everything. Her husband is officially innocent, and his rights can be restored. Not now, of course, but still. Tsunade seemed to read her thoughts. Now it's too early to publish the order. Too little time has passed since the death of the third. They may not believe us. The girl's strength left her. She went limp in the chair. There are too many worries, too many things have piled up at once. It seemed to her that she was being thrown against the stones in a stormy whirlpool, and she could not cope and swim out. The Hokage offered to deceive the guards, agreed to cover for the criminal, even if he was not exactly a criminal. I treated him. Will you help? Yes. But why? For the first time, Naruto looked her age. Confused child. Senju smiled. I too am part Uzumaki. By the way, I advise you to hurry up. Soon someone may wonder why the quarter is almost in a state of siege, and the censors have lost sight of it. Naruto snorted, wrinkling her nose. They haven't seen too much before. Keiko checked. She could only see silhouettes, and she is the strongest censor I know. Yes? A thoughtful expression appeared in the woman's eyes. It seems that she was already calculating the benefits. Naruto grinned and closed her eyes, stroking the third's order with her fingers. They will cope for sure. What do we do? The family, as usual, gathered near the patient. They never moved Itachi, leaving him in the center of the living room. They didn't even touch the furniture, as if this could affect his recovery. Tsunade sent a list of restorative drugs, rules, and recipes for their use. Now Itachi was sleeping peacefully. All the injections were given to him by either Naruto or Keiko. And along with the list came an order to assign Uchiha Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke has the rank of Chunin. But Sakura will have to wait another year, until the next exam, or work harder with the number of missions. Thus, team number 7 was defeated. Naruto snorted derisively and shrugged, taking out a pair of scissors. The question didn't need an answer. To form a new Uzumaki, of course. She mentally apologized to Itachi. It was a shame to the point of tears to cut off his thick, beautiful hair, even if it was singed in places, but it was almost the calling card of the older Uchiha, like the deep wrinkles at the wings of his nose. But they can be hidden under a mask. Sasuke and Shursui helped lift Itachi into a sitting position so that the women could give their hair the characteristic shade of all Uzumakis. In order not to arouse suspicion, Naruto made the paint herself, after consulting with the teacher first. No more difficult than creating poisons. After Tsunade left, Keiko asked the logical question why Naruto didn't heal her husband herself. To which the head of the clan smiled bitterly. While she was busy identifying the poison and selecting the components, Itachi could easily die, since neither of them has sufficient knowledge of medical techniques. After all, it was only thanks to the efforts of the Senju that the man lived to make the antidote, which was not just used by Shosen. The truth is that she was afraid to do harm, not to have time, to make a mistake. She could prepare any medicine for each of her relatives, but when it came to Itachi, her mind refused, filled with excitement and anxiety. It's not good for a shinobi, but she's only human. She may have her own weaknesses. Naruto almost lay down on Itachi, nevertheless, holding her weight, using a thin brush to apply seal symbols to the delicate skin of her cheek, which should slightly distort the correct features of the Uchiha. No one will recognize her husband if he puts on a mask and turns red-haired. At least that's what she hoped. The girl was just finishing her last letter, sticking out her tongue with zeal, when Ryo-san arrived with ready-made documents addressed to Uzumaki Ichi, Shia's brother. The Uzumaki clan didn't bother too much with names, take, for example, Mito or Kushina, or the same Naruto. They called their children like Heart Will Tell that I wanted to sing, scream and laugh with joy, throwing my head back. Naruto practically flew to work. She was happy to return home. And even though Itachi had not yet come to his senses, his condition was improving every day. Shinobi the creatures are tenacious, they cannot be killed so easily. And at the same time, I was a little afraid of his reaction after waking up. What will he say? Because everything is to blame for her selfish desire to be near him. But Naruto had no doubt that she could persuade her husband to be a little merciful. Naruto, stay late. Tsunade put the sheets aside. We need to talk. The Uchiha nodded, took the Hokage's hand and moved it to the clan quarter. They already habitually walked into the head's mansion, went into the kitchen, where the girl made tea. Tsunade took out some medical records. In addition to the poison, I discovered an infectious disease in your husband. So far only the lungs are affected, but there is already an acute deficiency of vitamins, some elements, exhaustion of the body and many other things. What do we have to do? Tsunade chuckled. Feed, water, groom, cherish and not let you strain, at least for the first time. I will give you drugs that actively act on the infection itself. The poison played into our hands, weakened the body, and the disease moved into a more powerful stage, while before, most likely, your husband suppressed it with chakra, drove it inside. That's why he still hasn't woken up. Exactly. I'll prescribe intravenous nutrition, inject him with a group of vitamins, and give him some decoctions to drink. We'll keep an eye on the flow. The disease is easy to cope with, much easier than vision loss. Did you know that he might soon go completely blind? Naruto nodded. Mangekyo the Sharingan draws a lot of energy, and puts more strain on your eyes the more you use it. There is a cure for this, but it is still too small and not ready. We will try to prevent Itachi from using the dojutsu too often. Tsunade looked satisfied. Of course, just in case, the village has excellent weapons. I'll prepare the medicine, a prescription is better, in this case I'll do everything myself. Senju only raised her eyebrows in surprise, but did not argue. Recommendations were given in full in writing. And left hospitable mansion. Naruto relieved sighed. They will cope. Uzumaki Ichi, who suffered at the hands of Suna's Nukenin, became a full-fledged resident of Konoha. Naruto spent her days in the Hokage's office, loaded with tasks beyond her capacity, and in the evenings she prepared potions and injected drugs given to Tsunade. Even in the first year, she organized a small laboratory in the basement of the house so as not to lose her skills, but she practically did not use it, busy with clan affairs, missions, training with and without a team. Now she hastily restored her skills and relearned not to break test tubes. Hands easily remembered what they loved. Only one thing was upsetting. Itachi never came to his senses. The disease that the Hokage discovered was developing, trying to suppress the restorative functions of the body, oppressing them. Tsunade was happy about this. It was better to openly fight the enemy than to drive him inside and constantly expect some kind of trick. Itachi, who was busy with the group's missions, received practically no treatment, much less took medication. Among the Nukenin one cannot show one's weaknesses. they could easily be taken advantage of. The head of the disgraced Uchiha was highly prized on the black market, and the consequences of such neglect had to be dealt with. Karen occasionally changed Naruto. Sasuke, having received a green vest, disappeared on missions. The Hokage was not going to wait until the talented shinobi could work for family reasons. The strength of the Uchiha clan was needed now. While everything was quiet on the borders, Akatsuki also lay low, and Sasuke was mainly engaged in guarding and escorting serious customers. Sharingans added to the fears. Itachi, the only possible donor, was his younger brother, but so far he was not ready for a transplant. He had to wait at least a year and a half. Again the waiting was painful, but now at least there was hope. Naruto chuckled at her pompous thoughts. From fatigue, no less. We need to go to bed. Tomorrow we will again send the clones on assignments from the Hokage. She set out to test the trustworthiness of some wealthy shinobi. The reconnaissance was mainly carried out by Naruto clones. They were practically not felt, and no one cancelled the henge. Tsunade was concerned about the extinction of some areas of business and the predominance of others, and it was also decided to deal with this. And it was also necessary to collect incriminating evidence on some ancient personalities who had already stayed in power for too long. Naruto frowned and drummed her fingers on the lab table. Tsunade relayed to her the contents of one conversation. A Jinchuriki should not be allowed into power. He must be stable enough to fight without asking questions. The clan, Sasuke, family ties, the elders tied her to Konoha. A loner could leave Konoha too easily. It is easier to fight for her own safety when you are not afraid for anyone. But they didn't like the fact that Naruto was now not only in the clan council, but also under the Hokage. At this rate, the Uchiha clan was winning back the positions that the second Hokage had taken away at one time. The girl sighed, stretched, and walked out of the laboratory. Because she's tired, she won't come up with anything good, and she'll make a mistake in the recipe. I would not like such a development of events. A warm shower calmed my raging thoughts and put me in a sleepy mood. Her eyes were already closing when Naruto crawled into her own bed, side by side with her husband. They finally moved Itachi to the marital bedroom, so as not to raise questions among possible visitors to the mansion, whom the head of the clan received in the living room. Naruto stroked her husband's cheek, the stubble that had grown during the day pricking her fingertips slightly. Unshaven Itachi is not a sight for the faint of heart, if only because it is too unusual. The husband always took good care of himself, and now Naruto was watching him. She slept carefully, trying not to move too much, so as not to hurt Itachi or pull out the fore. And even though I didn't get enough sleep, it was the best rest in recent years. Listen to his breath, inhale the smell of his body, mixed with the pungent notes of medicine, feel his warmth, his very presence. She missed her incredibly, and everything in her stomach was twisting into a spiral. Looking in the dark at her husband's sharpened profile, Naruto allowed herself to dream that one day, someday, a couple of children, black-eyed, dark-haired, just like Dad, would run around this house. They will definitely name the girl Mikoto. And, already falling asleep, Naruto heard the patter of small feet on the verge. The morning started the same way every time. Naruto woke up, but for some time she lay mindlessly in bed, trying to come to her senses. At first from nightmares, now from bright dreams. She never dreamed of such things even as a child. The girl didn't remember their essence, she only knew that they were joyful, full of light and laughter. It was stupid, of course, but she liked it. Then I went to the shower and prepared breakfast, lately more and more often for one person. Although Sasuke, returning home, never refused to cook his sister. He hugged her, kissed her on the cheek, and talked about the incidents on the missions, how they went, what team they formed this time. And also about his dreams of becoming a jonin. Then they ran off to do their own thing, only to meet in the evening. Sometimes after a few days, if the brother was sent on a mission again. But this morning everything changed. Naruto woke up from the light touch of rough lips on her forehead. And before she had time to pull the kunai out from under the pillow, out of habit, on reflexes, a gentle whisper burned her ears. "I'm back, my soul!" From simple words everything in her chest tightened. Naruto sighed shakily. and she opened her eyes. Itachi hung over her, still too weak, pale, but with a slight smile on his lips. The raised corners of the lips, just a shadow, but so beloved by Naruto. "Welcome back." She hugged him tightly by the neck, pushing him down on top of her. "Let him rest, lie down, there is no point in wasting energy. Everything will still be done." Itachi rolled to the side and Naruto laid on his shoulder. "I made a clone and sent it to the workplace." Tsunade never complained if a copy arrived instead of the original. This did not affect productivity in any way, and Naruto could simply be busy with the next assignment, or checking what had already been completed. Moreover, all knowledge was transferred to the original. Perhaps the Uzumaki were the only ones who could create an entire army, receive all their memories at the same time, and not go crazy. The Hokage herself already had a terrible headache from the couple. Naruto decided to shamelessly take advantage of the trust of her boss today. Once as possible. She didn't know where to start the conversation. She wanted to apologize and confess her love, she wanted everything at once, she was torn. Itachi was in no hurry, not in a hurry, he ran over his wife's naked hand, thinking about something of his own. It was as if he read his wife's thoughts and gave her much needed time. "Sorry." The Uchiha kissed the fluffy top of his head, closed his eyes, inhaling his native aroma, not now distorted by the smells of the conscript world. Homey, cozy, a little fiery. Alive, real. The one he dreamed about so much in his room in the next Akatsuki hideout. "The nameless shinobi who protects the world from the shadows," he said slowly. Naruto met a clear gaze, the drugs no longer stupefied his mind, recovery was in full swing, although the beads of sweat on his forehead spoke of terrible weakness. Itachi smiled at the appraising, tenacious gaze. "It's nice when people take care of you. All my life I considered it my rule, my way of being a ninja, if you like. If I didn't have you and Sasuke, perhaps I would have continued to follow this path and one day let someone kill me, just so as not to feel guilty for what I had done. But I have you." Even Shursui realized that sometimes it's good to have someone to fight for. "And Neru. Thank you for reminding me who I worked for these last years, who I went to." On this, the girl sighed and rubbed her cheek. A man of few words, a typical Uchiha. "What happened in Akatsuki? How did you get injured?" Itachi stared at the ceiling. "After our conversation with you, I planned to fake my death and return to Konoha, like Shursui. But Orochimaru managed to annoy me here too. One of the Akatsuki members, Sasori no Akasuna, was involved in intelligence. His network of spies covered almost all countries. And among them was Orochimaru's student, Yakushi Kabuto. An excellent intelligence officer, a talented ironin, even too talented." Itachi winced. He gave Akasuna some notes from his former teacher. "It turned out that Orochimaru suspected me of being a spy for Konoha from the very beginning, but never received proof. This didn't stop Akatsuki. I had to fight my way through. The group lost 2 members, the bomber Deidara and Sasori himself, but I still managed to fake death. Which almost became a reality." Itachi chuckled. Deidara had a gene that allowed him to imbue clay with chakra and explode it. Realizing that I could not be defeated by simple tricks, he used the extreme degree of his technique. He blew himself up. Taking advantage of this, I moved to the draft world, and from there to you. And I didn't immediately realize that Sasori had managed to hurt me after all. The grandson of the famous Chiyo, he used her poisons as a basis." Naruto raised her head. "Can you write everything you know about Akatsuki, their shelters, characteristics of group members? I need to warn the Hokage." "Although no, dictate and I'll write it down." Itachi nodded. Naruto created another clone and ran into the bathroom while her husband was dictating a report. Important information if, as they suspected, the Akatsuki were hunting for Jinchuriki. True, now they will have to wait for the revival of Shikaku and Isabu, since the carrier Mizukage died, giving way to the monster of the fog, a woman with 2 improved genomes. "You know, it's much more convenient to write reports this way." Itachi shared his impressions with his returning wife. The clone chuckled and Naruto stuck out her tongue. Do not even think. You will have to fill out the paperwork yourself, using pens. By the way, you are now Shia's brother Uzumaki, Ichi Uzumaki. Itachi nodded, and Naruto couldn't help but giggle. Not funny! I instantly understood the reason for the Uchiha girl's fun. While he was sick, Naruto didn't pay attention, but now that Itachi sat down on the pillows, it became clearly visible that his short hair stood up in different directions, like the spines of a hedgehog. Now it's clear why he always wore his hair long, in a ponytail. Too heavy, in a short state they did not lend themselves to any comb. And considering that now they are deep red, maybe they should at least grow them to the ears. Itachi asked almost pitifully. A little forced jokes, a little forced laughter, they were both just getting involved in ordinary, everyday life, getting used to the presence of the other nearby, getting used to not being alone anymore. It will take them time, a lot of time, but they will manage it. They're Uzumaki. And they are Uchiha. No, I like it. Naruto kissed her husband lightly. Rest, the clone will bring you breakfast. And I ran. Until the evening. Until the evening. Slipping out of the house, Naruto touched her lips every now and then as she ran across the rooftops. So unusual, everything more or less returned to normal. He is close, safe, they are together again. A bright smile lit up on her lips. You need to eat a lemon, the Hokage advised when the assistant came to the workplace. For the third time this morning, by the way. And don't glow like a light bulb. Naruto smiled even wider. I'm just happy, she said sincerely and with feeling. Just happy, Tsunade-san. Do you understand? The woman's gaze softened and she smiled. Understand. But you are not afraid of what others might say when they find out that you are sleeping with another man, not your husband. Even your own clan, my own clan, will not say a word to me, they respect me too much. I was Itachi's wife to the Uchiha only for the first 6 months. Naruto handed over her husband's report, and she sat down at a specially brought second table, sorting papers. I don't care about the opinions of others. We are not going to advertise our connection. Besides, she grinned slyly, I'm a widow now, date Bayo. Tsunade shook her head. Now I understand how you managed to revive the clan and bring it to almost its previous position. You will turn any situation in your favor. But still, shine less, otherwise people might think that you are rejoicing at the death of one Akatsuki. Not one but two. Naruto nodded at the piece of paper she brought. Tsunade deepened her study. The clock was ticking. Tora meowed heartrendingly outside the window, and was caught by another team of genin with wild screams. Finally, the Hokage looked up. Interesting information. And reliable. What are you planning to do, Tsunade-san? Sanin drummed her fingers on the table, turned to the window and looked at the roofs of the houses for some time. Her thoughts were somewhere very far away. I think I'll send information to Fog and Cloud. I'll please Mei and EY. They have their own Jinchuriki. As far as I heard, Mei managed to get Tailed Falls from the Eight Tails Cloud. They will both find this information interesting and useful. And if you connect the Swordsman of the Mist, you will be able to deal with, if not all Akatsuki, then most certainly. Do you want to make an alliance? Yes, that would be a good option. Tsunade nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, I'll write a response to the congratulations. Naruto giggled. It was no secret that the Reikage despised women, considered them weak and good for nothing. And in the same vein he sent congratulations to his fellow Kage. Tsunade hasn't written an answer yet, so this is a great opportunity. And the correspondence will not attract unnecessary attention, and then it will be too late to change anything. Naruto, do you know that ambassadors from the cloud are coming to us? Sasuke burst into his sister's office, excited and flushed. And he gasped when he saw that the sister was sitting not on an armchair, but on her husband's lap. He quickly turned to the wall. In some matters he remained such a child. I know, Date Bayo, Naruto said sadly. For the last month we've been doing nothing but negotiating with the Reikage. She grimaced as she remembered some of the phrases from the messages. The Hokage ordered you to appear as your first assistant. By the way, I was assigned to give out missions. Iraka-sensei had intermediate tests at the academy. Oh, stupid little brother, you are about to experience the beauty of Hatake Kakashi's reports, Itachi drawled. And together with his wife they giggled harmfully, looking at the grimaced face of Sasuke who had turned around again. Ichi Uzumaki worked in the field of training Anbu, some Jonin, as well as Genin and future Genin in Kenjutsu. And he was much more alive than Itachi. The Uchiha communicated more naturally, although behind the mask it was impossible to understand what his facial expression was. He also lived with the others in the head's mansion and slept in her bed. Even if the core of the clan knew about it, they remained silent. Naruto was right. The squad valued their leader too much to gossip about her personal life. Outside the quarter, those who did not wear the clan coat of arms were unable to find out anything. Their relationship is their personal life. For this, Naruto more than once thanked the restraint of the Uchiha and those who worked for them. Naruto could not know this, but Itachi, Shisui and Sasuke did, and Ryo-san directly told them that everyone in the clan would like Naruto-sama to be happy. And if Ichi Uzumaki will offend her, you shouldn't have the Uchiha clan as enemies, they will get him out of the ground. Itachi then bowed politely and thanked him for the advice. And a blessing. Naruto couldn't know it, but she was truly loved in her clan. And they would have killed for her, and for her. At the meeting of two Kage, Naruto stood in her usual costume, with the Uchiha-man on her back. And she took a place next to her boss, secretly declaring the position of the clan in the village. The recognition she had worked for all these years. She handed over papers, inserted the necessary phrases, tried to defuse the situation, and she remembered how much she had argued with Tsunade about her clothes. She wanted the assistant to come in a standard shinobi uniform, but Naruto resisted. She categorically did not like the green Chunin vest. Too heavy, too rough, too many pockets, which could easily be replaced by spatial prints on a blue sleeveless vest. And on the back of the vest was the symbol of the village, not the clan's coat of arms, and this seemed like a slight betrayal to Naruto. Enough forehead protector. The Raikage, a powerful, tan man with weights on his arms, was not in the habit of holding back. 2 tables had already been broken, but certain agreements were reached. If even one village is attacked, the Akatsuki will be in trouble. And Terumi Mei has already agreed to send a couple of detachments of swordsmen. For free bread. The destruction of members of the group with the subsequent payment of a decent reward. The same 2 squads were formed in Konoha. Naruto gave orders to pay close attention to those around him during missions. If you step back from what was happening, the era was changing right now. It was not confrontation that began, but cooperation between the villages. They all had something to protect. Jinchuriki 8 Tails, the Raikage's brother, and he will kill for his brother, tear anyone to shreds. And even though he didn't like the 2 women at the helm of Konoha, he couldn't help but recognize the rationality of their arguments. Naruto stepped out into the fresh air and closed her eyes, looking at the sun in the sky. Everything will definitely be fine. Sasuke will become a jounin, get married, and have a couple of kawaii kids, just like he did as a child. Itachi won't have to hide, he will be able to grow his hair back. They will definitely change their eyes. And Shisui and Karen will be together. For some reason, right now, after concluding an agreement with the Cloud, it was possible to believe that everything would be fine. Well, that's a must. And now we need to go to the training ground and take Ichi out to lunch, otherwise he will get so carried away that he will forget about the doctor's orders. Naruto smiled. Her heart sang, and for the first time in recent years she was happy, she felt whole. Finally, the sun slowly rose above the horizon. The boards of the Engawa, damp from the morning dew, cooled the palms, the pale dawn haze rose above the pond, the flowers rustled, and the bamboo pacifier knocked by the water. Naruto lowered her feet to the still cool ground, which had just begun to warm up, and exposed her face to the first rays of the sun. The girl loved to sit like this. In the early hours of dawn, the world seemed serene and calm, as if there were no military settlements, no Nuknin, no tailed ones. There is only you and the boundless world around you. My soul was warmed by the knowledge that in the house behind me, Sasuke was snoring in his bed, having bought tomatoes for 2 weeks yesterday. For ordinary people for 2 weeks, for the youngest Uchiha for a couple of days, no more. Karen and Shursui sleep in an embrace. Keiko trusted her daughter's prudence. The eldest Uzumaki herself was absent, and Naruto suspected who she was spending the night in her bed. Ryuyu-san is an excellent choice for a lonely, restless, proud woman. Even if war happens, they will cope. Whatever the future holds for them. Because they are not alone, because they have each other. They're Uchiha. They're Uzumaki. From behind I heard the creaking of floorboards and the pitter-patter of bare feet. Naruto smiled, exposing her neck to the kisses of lips hot from sleep. It was with difficulty that Itachi managed to wean himself from gliding around the house like a ghost, like on missions. What are you thinking about? His dear black eyes looked into his face. Itachi settled behind her, hugged his wife, and sat her down between her legs. Naruto leaned on her broad chest, feeling her heart beating evenly against her spine. She intertwined her fingers, kissing the back of her husband's hand. That everything will be fine. Necessarily. They same Uchiha. They same Uzumaki.